Hi everyone and welcome to Fridays with Fenning. Well, what a week it's been. On Saturday I was able to walk my youngest daughter Rachel down the aisle. Well, actually it was across a meadow, but it was in the dry, it didn't rain, and then see her marry the love of her life, Theo Harris. And as they celebrated their first dance as husband and wife that evening, there on the big screen behind them, we saw England score the first of 4 goals against the Ukraine, taking England into the semi-finals of the Euros. And then on Wednesday night, England beat Sweden 2-1 to make it to the Euros final, the first major final since the World Cup win in 1966, which was 2 months before I was born. Now, if you're watching this on catch-up after the weekend, you'll know whether my optimism for England winning the final is misplaced. But at the moment, I believe we can do it. So bring on Sunday. But you know, my belief in the England team doesn't actually mean anything. I mean, whether I believe or not makes no difference to the result. I don't know any of the players. I can't influence how they play. My belief is just hopeful. It's based on some good performances, a great England manager and some outstanding individual players. But you know, belief in sport is such a powerful motivator. Any winner has to have belief. Belief in themselves that they can win and belief in their ability to overcome. And so often, belief adds that extra 10% to the performance. So actually it's been fun guessing who's going to score or miss during the penalty shootouts over this past week. I mean, often it's down to confidence and whether they believe that they'll score. And some you just know by their expression as they do that long walk from the halfway line that they're going to miss. But having others believing in you can change everything. I mean, back in January 2019, Karolina Pliskova was playing Serena Williams in the quarterfinals of the Australian Open. It was 1-set-all, and Serena was winning the final set 5-1. And she had match point. But Pliskova fought back in quite dramatic fashion to win the most amazing match 7-5. And this is what she said in her post-match interview about her husband after Mikhail Helicha, I think his name is, stole the show after his over-the-top celebrations. She said, "His support means so much to me. You don't always win these kind of matches, but just to know he's there supporting, even when things aren't going well, and he's there believing, that helps me to fight a little bit more. I won't give up. I need that support. For me, the support is so important. It can help me to turn matches around." Now, even watching the highlights of the Wimbledon semi-finals last night when Pliskova beat Sabalenka, she said that it was Sasha Bayan, her coach, who had the belief. She didn't really believe it herself. Martina Navratilova said this. She said, "He switched her on emotionally in a positive way. The positivity that he's brought into her mindset has paid off today because after losing that first set, she could have crumbled, but she held it together beautifully today." So having people believe in us can really make all the difference. I mean, I can look back over my own life and see the difference that other people's support and their belief in me, what difference that's made. I remember being asked to lead worship, to lead congregational singing at a really popular event when I was only 16 years old. Couldn't believe it. So with my guitar, my capo and my knowledge of about 4 guitar chords, and fortunately a bunch of other musicians around me, I led the singing with 350 people present. And I could only do it because others believed in me. No way did I have that confidence to do it by myself. In fact, just anyone asking me to do something has been a huge confidence boost to me and helped me believe in the gifts and the calling that Jesus has on my life. And I still need it today. Why? Because I know me, I know my faults and flaws and can easily not feel good enough and then just retreat. And I bet you feel that way at times too. Which is why we need each other. We need to support and believe in each other to bring out the best in us. But I discovered an amazing truth a few years ago which has helped me to continue to take steps forward in life and to grow in my faith. And it's this mind-blowing truth that God believes in me. He believes in you. You know, I'd grown up in a Christian family with this high value of believing in God, believing that he exists, that he's good and loving and kind and forgiving, and I still do. But when I read a book called Velvet Elvis by Rob Bell, suddenly I took on a new confidence in a way that I hadn't understood before. You see, I'd always read the accounts of Jesus in the New Testament from a Western point of view. And there are parts that just don't make sense to us unless we understand the context and the culture of the day. So when I read that Jesus called people to follow him and they just left everything and went with him, that just didn't make much sense. But I'd overlook it, not question it, and just carry on reading. So when I read this book, Velvet Elvis, and understood the context, not only did it make sense, but it had a huge impact on me. I mean, take Simon Peter, the fisherman, one of the disciples that Jesus called to follow him. Simon was a Jew. He'd been brought up a Jew, and at the age of 6, he'd gone to school to learn and memorize the Torah, which is the Jewish law. And at the age of 10, when the top children were chosen to go on to the next level of their education, Simon probably wasn't chosen. Instead, he did what all not good enough kids did, which was to learn the family trade, and in his case it was fishing. So only the elite, the best of the best, ever moved on to the next 2 levels, having memorized the whole of the Old Testament and learnt the art of questioning and debating. To then become a disciple of a rabbi, the student would present himself to a well-known rabbi and say, "Rabbi, I want to become your disciple." And the rabbi would be very thorough as to his questioning in order to find out if the student could actually become like him. And if yes, he'd say, "Come, follow me." And then the disciple would stay close to the rabbi, watching and learning in order to become like him. Well, Rob Bell writes in this book, he says this: "So at the age of 30, when a rabbi generally began his public teaching and training of disciples, we find Jesus teaching by the Sea of Galilee. And he sees 4 fishermen there, Simon, Andrew, James and John. And why were they fishermen? Well, because they weren't disciples. They weren't good enough. They didn't make the cut. And Jesus calls the not good enoughs. I mean, can you imagine what that must have been like? To have a rabbi say to you, "Come, follow me." To have a rabbi say, "You can be like me." Of course you'd leave everything. You know, the rabbi believes that you can do what he does. He thinks that you can become like him. And so Jesus took some boys who didn't make the cut and changed the course of human history. Now, this is what blows my mind. Jesus still chooses those of us who are not good enough, who don't make the grade. And he says this, he says, "Come, follow me." And he looks at me and he says, "Steve, I believe in you. You can become like me. You can do what I do." And Rob Bell sums it up this way. He says, God has an incredibly high view of people. God believes people are capable of amazing things. Now, I've been told that I need to believe in Jesus, which is a good thing. But what I'm learning is that Jesus believes in me. And I've been told that I need to have faith in God, which is a good thing. But what I'm learning is that God has faith in me. The rabbi thinks that we can be like him. So, what could that mean for you and me today? To live life knowing that God believes in us, that he knows and believes in our potential, and he calls us to live a life of love and kindness and forgiveness and compassion. I mean, maybe that's the confidence, the belief that we need to actually go and live it, that God believes in you. Hey, have a great weekend, everyone. Thanks so much for watching. And I'll just say it one more time. Come on, England. Take care.